Zembly.com. Let me talk a little bit about really what Zembly is about, and then I'll give you a guided tour. So Zembly is the world's first Facebook development environment. It's also, we can say the same for Open Social, for Meebo, and others. And you're doing that all within the browser. And that's inherently a social activity. So what that means is you're actually building these kinds of social applications, real social applications, but you're doing that with other people. So let me jump in, let me give you a bit of a demo, and then we can certainly answer any questions going forward. Let me first just very quickly show you an application. We just launched this today. An example of something that's being done on Zembly today, with Zembly today. So this is a Facebook application. It's called My Picks Beijing 2008. It's an application that lets you play Fantasy Olympics. And this is an example of what I call, a real deep social application. It's really engaging your social graph on Facebook. You're able to invite friends. You're able to have leaderboards, all the kinds of features that you would expect from a real deep application. And I want to make that point. When we talk about, when I show you in a minute a little bit about Zembly, I love the drag and drop and the cool stuff we've seen without programming. Zembly is a little bit about programming, but we're trying to make that as easy as possible and make that give you value for that. And the value is that you can create these very deep applications. So for example, this is the My Picks application you can see here. And you can see we have leaderboards, we have predictions. So for example, I can come here, I can predict winners, medalists for a particular event, and so on. So you can see it's a pretty extensive application. And as I'm doing that, I'm doing that on behalf of a country. So it's this idea that it's a large application that's doing a number of things. So let me jump in a bit to Zembly and show you what that's about. So Zembly is inherently, I mentioned, a social environment. It's really about social development or social programming. So the idea is that I'm working here with other people to build these social applications and widgets and iPhone apps and Meebo apps and so on. And so I have a profile here that other people can see. I can see other people's profile. You can see here's a list of my contacts. And like any other social network, I'm able to see what those people are doing. So I can see an activity feed when people are building new things, publishing new versions, when they're creating something that I might want to use, when they're rating something that I've done, and so on. And then ultimately, what am I doing at Zembly? What I'm doing is I'm building widgets for that front-end user interface that run on Facebook, Open Social, iPhone, Meebo, and other social platforms, as well as services that access back-end logic, and then collections of those as applications. So let me show you just very quickly another application. Just a second. Here's actually, what I want to do is I want to show you, I closed it. No, it didn't. Excuse me. Here we go. Let me jump to the application I want to show you. It's a very simple, this one is just a widget that accesses weather bug information. So we treat the web as really your palette of content and behavior. So really any web API out there you can access to pull in any kind of data, any kind of interesting stuff to really build these applications. So this is a very simple application. It's using WeatherBug backend service, and lets me put in a zip code. I live here in San Francisco, Richmond. Let's try that. And it's going to say, show results here. So how do I actually modify? How am I building this widget? So what I do is I can look inside this widget. And what you're seeing here is, and don't be alarmed, there is a little bit of code here, but it's very simple code. It's very scripting level code. So there's a little bit of HTML content, a little bit of CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript to build this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a comment. This is an IDE class editor in the browser. It actually has a code completion. One of the very cool things you can do here is when you're looking for something interesting out on the web to use. For example, Amazon, for example. You can see that I'm able to access things like Amazon, like Flickr, like Yahoo, like Twitter, all these other popular web APIs. So I just ditch that. And then like a wiki, what I do is I publish a new version, and that's immediately live. And that's live if this is a Facebook app, if this is a web widget, and so on. So now coming back here, clicking this,
10,
10,
9,
you can see real stuff there.
6,
All right.
3,
That's about it.